welcome to the 5th episode of A Year of Career, 52 Practical Answers to Your Questions. I'm Erin, Wolfer, and I own and operate Career Advantage and Career Advantage Golf. I help folks all over the world feel more prepared and confident as they work their way through their job search. So I help people with resumes, cover letters, mock interviews, LinkedIn profiles, personal portfolios, just anything job search related. But during this podcast each week, I answer a question from the public. And this week, I'm going to answer the question, what are ways to alleviate stress during a job search? So just by chance, I happened to write an article for my LinkedIn profile and published it last week called 10 Tips to Organize Your Job Search. And really the focus of that article was to help people get organized and prepared throughout their job search process to alleviate stress. So when I saw that this was one of the questions that came in, I thought, well, why not repurpose this content and talk about it on the podcast? So that's what I'm going to do here today. So the first thing that I would like to say is the job search certainly can be stressful. It can be very time consuming, it can especially be stressful if you currently are unemployed or you're trying to get out of a really bad situation. So if you're in either of those situations, first and foremost, I want to say, make sure you're taking care of yourself. Make sure you're tapping into your support system. Make sure you have resources and support to help you throughout this process. And once you've done that, then you can really focus more on your job search. So no matter what, these tips that I'm going to provide to you today hopefully will help you become more organized and prepared, so when you're ready to apply, you can just go forward more strategically. So the first thing that I want to recommend for getting organized is to identify your job targets and where to find those opportunities. So what I mean by that is you don't want to just apply for anything and everything out there and submit, upwards of 100 applications. That's not a very effective way to approach a job search. So what you really want to think about is what you're looking for, what your skills and qualifications will allow you to meet the qualifications for, and then of course where you can find those opportunities. So think about specific job titles you're interested in and qualified for. Think about specific companies or organizations you're most interested in. Think about things that you have strengths and skills that could provide value to, and then make a list. So make a list of the different organizations and job titles and websites, things like that you may be able to find opportunities. And then also reach out to your network and let them know what you're looking for. And we're going to talk about that a lot more here in just a minute. So number one, identify your job targets and where to find those opportunities before you really even get started. Second, you want to prepare your documents. So make sure you have a solid foundation for your resume and your cover letter, that make sure they're comprehensive and that they can cover all of your job targets. So what you want to do is, again, like I said, have foundational documents that may be somewhat generic to start, but what you want to be able to do then is to tailor those documents really well when you actually find positions for which you want to apply. It may be helpful to have someone else take a look at those documents just to make sure they're as good as they possibly can be. So, talk to friends, colleagues, or even a professional career consultant and have them take a look at your documents before you get ready to tailor them and ultimately submit those for applications. I mentioned this already in tip 1, but next, alert your network, okay? So tap into your network, the people that you know. Colleagues, friends, family members, acquaintances, talk to them and let them know what you're looking for. Let them know the skills that you have, the strengths and qualifications that you have, the different positions that you've held over the past few years, and let them know what you're looking for. You never know who is going to know someone who has a great opportunity that might be the perfect fit for you. And networking is absolutely key in the job search process these days. So definitely talk to anyone and everyone, even people you think likely will not be able to assist you at all in the job search. It's quite possible they may know somebody and next thing you know, you'll have a great opportunity in front of you. So always remember that networking is a two-way street, so you don't just want to ask for people's help, but you also want to offer what you can do for them. So just always keep that in mind when you're tapping into your network. The fourth tip that I have is to create a separate email account specifically for job search purposes. So you've probably had an email address for over 20 years, but you may not have an email address that's specifically for your job search. And I do recommend that you do that for a couple of reasons. One, you want to make sure that you're getting information related to the job search as quickly and easily as possible. Two, you don't want to accidentally, send an email to the wrong person or something like that. And if you are using another personal email, you could easily do that. So email address, so just be careful with that. So I recommend just creating a professional email address using, Gmail or Yahoo or something like that, and just have it be, your first initial and last name, or your full name or something like that that easily identifies that email address as yours. Once you have that email address set up, then what you can always do is once you set up some email alerts, which we're going to talk about in just a minute, you can set up email rules. So certain emails that come in, say from Indeed or LinkedIn or something like that, that's alerting you of potential opportunities, you can have those automatically filter to a folder within your email account, and then that keeps those separate from any correspondence that could potentially be coming in from an employer inviting you to an interview or requesting more information. So tip number 5 is to set up those email alerts. And what I mean by that is once you've identified your job target and you've identified places to find potential jobs, different job boards, things like that, go in and set up email alerts so you'll receive a weekly email with new opportunities that are posted that meet your criteria. And places like LinkedIn and Indeed allow you to do that. So I definitely recommend that you set up those email alerts, and then once you have that professional email address, set up those email rules to keep your email inbox nice and organized as you go through the job search process. Next, tip number 6 is to update your social media platforms. So make sure that you're representing yourself professionally online. So if somebody Googles you or looks you up online, they're going to find a professional representation of you. Of course, you don't want anything negative out there that's going to keep you from getting hired. So clean up your clean up your online presence. Make sure that your personal accounts are set up to where they're blocked from the public, that only friends, people that you've given permission can view certain things. And then also make sure that your LinkedIn is completely up to date, because you don't want employers looking on LinkedIn finding you but finding outdated information. So if you have a LinkedIn profile, make sure you have a nice professional photo, make sure that your most recent employment information is on there, make sure you have some details related to your employment so people know some of those skills and accomplishments that you have, those strengths. And also have a really nice about section that really highlights your strengths and passion and kind of what you're looking for as far as the next step in your career. Tip number 7 is to contact your references. It's a good idea to always have references on hand. I recommend having at least 3 to 5 people, like former or current supervisors, former or current colleagues. They work probably the best as references, maybe former professors or teachers or someone that you worked with in a volunteer capacity. Those folks could also make really good references. You want to avoid using friends and family as references. Those are personal references, and what you really want to do is focus on professional references. So make sure you reach out to those folks, let them know that you're actively searching for a job, let them know what you're looking for if you haven't already, send them the most updated version of your resume so they can keep track of what you've been doing for the past few years and can be ready to talk about you if they get a reference call. And then also keep them updated as you apply for specific positions so they can be prepared if they do get a call. And then finally, after your job search is over, don't forget to thank your references for taking time to provide a positive recommendation for you. Tip number 8 is to create a spreadsheet to keep you on track. So here are some ideas of different columns to have in your spreadsheet. For each position, you want to have the position name, the organization or company, application deadline, the contact person's name and contact information, link to the job posting, required application materials, how to apply, the date you submitted your application, the date you followed up to confirm receipt of your application, and finally, the date you heard back from the organization and or their interview date. By utilizing this spreadsheet, it can really keep you organized and on track. You'll know the positions that you've applied for, you know if you've heard back from them or not, and just really make sure to keep that updated, and I think it'll really help you with a more strategic job search. Tip number 9 is schedule time. So once you have all these other things set up, now you're ready to start applying for positions. Applying for jobs can be time consuming. So I recommend every time you have a job that you want to apply for, set aside at least an hour to complete that application because you never know what's going to be asked of you. Of course, you're probably going to need to upload a tailored resume and cover letter. So you need to set aside time to tailor your resume and cover letter to that specific position. But then sometimes when you get in there and you actually hit the apply button, you're going to have to answer some additional questions, or you may have to submit an online form that's rather lengthy. So I recommend actually scheduling time to complete that application and schedule at least an hour for each application. So once you've actually started applying, you have applications out there, hopefully pretty soon you're going to be having some interviews. So the final thing that I recommend that you do to prepare and to help you stay organized is to start thinking about the interview and preparing for it. So what you want to do is start researching those companies even more than you already have prior to you applying, and learn as much as you can about them so you can ask appropriate questions, you can really express your passion and interest in the company, and then of course you want to do some research on yourself as well. And what I mean by that is think about stories and experiences that you can share during that interview that's really going to prove your value, that demonstrates your skills and strengths, and tells a story of the accomplishments that you've had in your other positions, again, that prove your value and demonstrate how you're going to be able to be an asset to their company in this new position. So those are my 10 tips for helping you get organized for a job search, and hopefully if you follow those tips and you take a little bit of time to get ready and prepared, it'll alleviate some of that stress. So again, I'm Erin Wolfram, and I help folks with their career development. If you want more information on my business, it's Career Advantage, and you can go to careeradvantageresumes.com or careeradvantagegolf.com. And if you ever want me to answer one of your questions on this podcast, please email me at Erin@careeradvantageresumes.com. Thank you.